The economy in Tropico Games has always been a place of great debate, and there were clearly games where it was far too easy to make money, and then there were too many games where it was also really, really hard to make any money, and that always led down to a lot of frustration, especially because, well, Tropico is not just an economy management game, and that leads us to the first episode of the Road to Tropico 7. If you want to check out the other episodes, there is a playlist down below in the video description. And of course, you will find the videos on my channel. But this time, let's talk about the economy. The economy in Tropico is one thing, right? It's basically the means to ends. And the ends are your political gain. And of course, very important, your Swiss bank account. Right, you want to fill that because you then can use the Swiss bank account to, well, utilize some money which is untraceable and you can do some not so lawful things, right? That was always the trifecta of the Tropico games. Unfortunately, that didn't always work. So let's have a look at Tropico 5 and Tropico 6 and how it worked there. In Tropico 5, let's face it, it was super easy to make money there. You couldn't really do much wrong. And I'm not even talking about the cheesy way out, where you would just put down some plantations with cocoa, then later on you would have some tourist traps, and then you would also produce some chocolate from the cocoa even later in the game, and you would have unlocked the infinite money glitch. Right? It was so easy to cheese this. And I'm not even talking about that. There were so many other ways on how to make money that you never really bothered. And even I played the game on the hardest difficulty with some extra rules imposed on me, and it was still super easy to make money. But that was also kind of interesting because you then started to focus on things which had nothing to do with money. Right? You were starting to focus on the political gains. You were starting to focus on your Swiss bank account and utilize that Swiss bank account to make your crime family stronger or do some activities which were not that lawful. So I would say that the trifecta of Tropico and Tropico 5 was intact, even though the economy was definitely the weakest part of the game. And that leads us to Tropico 6. Tropico 6 got a new developer, right, after all those years, and they completely tried to change it up. They completely wanted to change the economy and how it works, and I understand that. Like, plantations were too powerful, so what they did is they basically axed the money from the plantations by like 50% in itself. But the problem was they didn't really think about all the other changes they implemented as well, which would change the economy forever. One of the biggest changes is now that every person in your country would have a life. They would take a break, they would leave, they would do other things, and every single building in the game would have that. So even when this would only affect your plantations, which it didn't, it would also affect your teamsters, and everything else needed a break as well. So everything would slow down massively. But they also made some big changes to the economy. In Tropico 5, the Tropico was just it. Yeah, sure, there were some changes here and there on some of the goods you would sell by like 5 or maybe 10% at best, and nobody really cared for that. But in Tropico 6, you could have massive changes on a scale where things would make double the money or would make no money at all. And unfortunately, the no money at all was hitting quite often. So the idea was diversify. Stop focusing only on the plantations and start to diversify. The problem was just diversify in what? Where are my options? Because there weren't really any. Yeah, sure, you could do a little bit of metal, you could do some boats, and you could do some rum, and that was basically it. But the moment you got hit by an economic downturn, you were screwed. Like, it was game over. And the good news is that's not the case anymore. They actually added quite a bit of stuff and quite a bit of options in the base game. And then, of course, much more through the DLCs. They also made some huge changes to the economy since the release. And now Tropico 6 economy is okay. It's not perfect, it has still issues, but it's okay. It's manageable. The problem is that the two other things don't really work. Politics in Tropico 6 feel meaningless most of the time. You never really fear of any faction as long as you're keeping the military happy. Everything is good, and even your political opponents are more or less non-existent. And then there is, of course, the Swiss bank account, and this is what makes me the saddest of all of it, is that I had too many games where I didn't even touch my Swiss bank account. I never needed it. And I know what you were saying, but well, come on, man. In Tropico 5, sure, you were using your Swiss bank account, but when you have upgraded your crime family to the maximum, you also never really utilized it ever again. And yeah, that's true. That is true, but at least I used it up to that point. In Tropico 6, I never saw really a meaning in it or giving me like a huge boost. Like when the game was also giving you rewards where you had to choose, like, do you want the Swiss bank account or do you want to get the actual money? Most of the time I was going with the actual money because A, the Swiss bank account money you would get was not high enough, and B, for what? Right? So unfortunately, I would say that in Tropico 6, the trifecta of how Tropico does those things just didn't work out. And I'm really hoping they're focusing on that again in Tropico 7. Keep in mind, Tropico has never been a full-on city sim. It's not City Skylines, it's not Sim City or any of those big management games. It's a wacky management game with some political system in it, which is also not really that like lenient in, oh, we are trying to be very close to realism here. Like, come on, El Presidente is literally a time traveler, right? Let's not forget that. So go wacky. Let us do something crazy with the Swiss bank account. Like, I want to give one last example here, which I always enjoyed back in the day, and that was a game called Airline Tycoon. It's old, most people don't know it, but you managed an airline, right? And you were also making money. But then you would utilize the money later on to sabotage all the other airlines or to build some absolutely wacky and crazy airplanes which would normally never fly. But this is how you could sink in a lot of money in actions, which would give you a lot of joy and also some progress in the game. And I want to see that again in Tropico 7. I want that the economy is really just, well, the means to an end, right? Yes, it's important. Yes, it's something you have to focus on, something you have to care for. But let me do some crazy stuff with it. And please don't let me wait again for all the DLCs before the more crazy stuff is coming in. But with that said, we are at the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. This was episode 1 of the road to Tropico 7. The next episode, well, it's one for the ages, I can already tell you. With that said, don't forget to leave a like and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet for more Tropico and strategy games and videos coming up. And with that said, stay safe and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.